allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. On the mayor's report, just want to remind everybody that November 8th is actual voting day. So it's pretty important stuff on the ballot out there. So make sure you make your way to any of the polling locations here in Dayton and let your voice be heard. That's all I have for the mayor's report this month. Next, I'd like to ask for an approval of minutes from the October 4th, 2022 City Council meeting.
Move to approve.
Member Neary has made the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Member Neiman's made the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Not voting.
Okay, I was getting to that. Any nays? Any abstentions? Jeff? Okay. Ayes have it. Now I'd like to open up the podium for anybody in the audience tonight that would like to speak to the city council or administration regarding upcoming legislation on tonight's agenda. So if you have anything that you want to speak about with these fellow first readings and second readings, the floor is yours. All right. That moves us along. Oh, get the wheel out. Everyone's favorite part of the day. So we're going to be doing department head reports. And just to make sure it's fair to everybody, we spin our department head report wheel. Here we go.
I just want to let everybody know the chief and the assistant chief are in training this week, so
Oh, yeah.
they have an able substitute here.
Maybe he will. We'll find out. Sorry, Chief. It's Fire Chief.
Thank you, sir.
You're very welcome. Thank you, Wheel.
Okay. You'll have my report. A couple things to touch on. If you notice, again, runs are still up. I have lost 2 members now to other departments, and I have another one that is interviewing tomorrow somewhere. So I could be down 3 before the end of the year when I do have a scheduled retirement at that time. We have received 2 applications, and we'll be looking at those to see if they're qualified candidates. So I just want to keep you guys in the loop on that. We'll be starting hydrants probably this week. We'll go out every fall after the water district does their thing, and then we'll check all the hydrants to make sure they're draining. We'll lube them. And if there's any that are not draining, we will actually pump them out, document that, and then come back in a couple weeks. If they're still not draining, if they're wet again, then we'll let the water district know because they'll have to come out because the hydrant should be self-draining. Beyond that, there's not a whole lot else to talk about. I'm sure you all know we had a pretty large fire Saturday night, Sunday morning. My guys, as always, pull up and have just a ton of fire and, knocked it out of the park. We had help with Newport and Fort Thomas, and Southgate came down to help us. And so, again, just typical work, typical day for them. So,
Excellent job on that. I know the family that was displaced is thankful for your services, getting everybody out and even the dog. So we mourn the loss of the building. Hopefully they can rebuild it. We're thinking of the family. Anybody else for Chief? All right. Thank you, Chief.
thank you.
Yeah, good evening. Next up, Rick, you win. Public Works.
Well, you can see there's a lot going on in the city with all the constructions and everything. And I'm sure Jay give everybody a heads up on the actually what has been done and what's going to be done. But other than that, I mean, we're staying real busy. Leaves are starting to fall. And we're getting caught up a little bit now. We got our alleys done, got a lot of our roadside cut back. So we're getting ready to, hopefully within the next couple of weeks, switch over to snow equipment. Put the mowers away. And so, but other than that, if anybody's got any questions, I mean,
It's that time of year when City Hall gets a lot of people questioning leaf removal. So what's the how does that work in the city?
They either call the city, and the girls usually send me an email, or Jared's got a thing he's been sending me on address and leaf pickup. We've had quite a few so far,
You can go on the city website and request that.
Oh, great.
Email to you.
Yeah. and we try to get on it.
So
As soon as
there's a
possible.
form on the city website that you can request leaf pickup. And it's, if you go, it's on the form section under government.
I'll put it on the homepage too, just so it's more accessible during this time. when we'll
Yep.
need it.
We can do a blog post, put it on blog post too. So we'll have it on the front page as well, so it's easy to find.
We're trying to keep up with them as soon as we can. And we did get one camera put up this last week, and the second one should be put up. I was hoping it'd be here this week. As far as the electric, it has to be run outside. But other than that, I mean, we got the crosswalks done at Fifth and Berry, stop bars put in. So while the company was here, I had them go ahead and do that. So it'll last a lot longer than paint. Other than that,
Any questions for Public Works Director? Thanks for all your work and your, oh, wait, we have a question.
For the leaf removal, do you have to bag it or do you
No,
just
you
put them on a pile?
get them up, get them to a pile and on the curb.
It's a pretty great service,
Yeah, that's nice.
especially because like they do it on call. You know, other cities they have, we have leaf day this day. Maybe your tree's not done yet.
Yeah.
So good.
We'll give you a day late when you
Oh,
call.
that's okay.
We'll get it pretty quick.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. All right.
You can also leave your leaves in your beds that provide a lot of nutrients to the trees
There
that
you
shed
go.
those leaves. So leave your leaves.
Excellent point, Member Basley. Thank you.
Mhm.
All right. Only got two left, I believe. Police.
Hello, I'm Sergeant Wilkie, so if anybody doesn't know me, I'm Mark Wilkie. But Chief and LT are out of town for training this week, and they said they'll have the report for this month at the next council meeting. So nothing to report there.
Great.
If anybody has anything,
Any questions for Sergeant Wilkie? Well, thanks for filling in the shoes, sir.
no problem. Thank you.
Appreciate you. Just you, Cassie. I don't have to spin the wheel, I already know.
I did send in a report. I didn't know if anybody had any questions. The grass is finally kind of slowing down, so the past couple weeks, I've been in the office a little more, working on the vacant property registrations and things like that I just didn't have a chance to get a real grasp on when it was super busy. Liens, we've been catching up on those. Just a lot of filing and paperwork and things like that. So hopefully we'll start on exterior properties, the exterior properties here real soon. Keep in mind that they'll have until probably spring to get a lot of that work completed, because it's going to be too cold to concrete and paint and things like that. But that's what I like to kind of focus on in the winter time. So that's about it.
Great. Any questions for Code Enforcement Director?
Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks, Cassie. Moving along on the agenda, moving fast tonight, guys. First on the agenda would be second reading ordinance number 2022, number 24, an ordinance amending section 72.29 through 72.31 of chapter 72 of the Dayton Code of Ordinances regarding the establishment and operation of the Parking Violation and Enforcement Hearing Board. That's a big one. Ms. Myers?
City of Dane, Kentucky ordinance number 2022, number 24, and amending section 72.29 through 72.31 of chapter 72 of the Dayton Code of Ordinances regarding the establishment and operation of the Parking Violation Enforcement Hearing Board, regulations for enforcement of parking citations and the towing and impounding vehicles, and appeals to the board from these activities.
This is a second reading, so that means we're going to need a motion, a second, then we can comment regarding this ordinance. Do I have a motion to accept 2022 number 24?
So moved.
Member Neary's made the movement. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second made by Baszler, which opens up the comments section. Do you have any comments regarding this ordinance?
I just wanted to point out, this doesn't change any of our parking regulations,
No.
just the appeals board, because that was a misconception.
And this follows most other cities as well, their appeal section. Any other comments? Roll call, please, Ms. Myers.
Member Baszler?
Aye.
Member Volter?
Aye.
Member Neary?
Aye.
Member Neiman? Aye.
The ayes have it. Second on the agenda would be second reading of ordinance 2022 number 25. This is an ordinance amending section 91.9 of chapter 9.1 of the Dayton Code of Ordinances to amend civil fees imposed by the violation of the City of Dayton Animal Control Ordinance. Do I have a motion to accept ordinance? Wait, Ms. Myers, please. My bad.
City of Dayton, Kentucky, ordinance number 2022, number 25. An ordinance amending section 91.99 of chapter 91 of the Dayton Code of Ordinances to amend the civil fees imposed for violation of provisions of the City of Dayton Animal Control Ordinance.
Thank you, Ms. Myers. Do I have a motion to accept 2022 number 25?
Move to accept 2022, number 25.
Member Volter's made the movement. Do I have a second?
Second.
Member Neiman's made the second. Any comments regarding this ordinance?
A little bit of confusion on this. Maybe you could clarify this. The penalty under section B, any person who allows an animal which has been spayed or neutered to run at large or otherwise violate has committed a civil offense with the civil fine, yada, yada. Does that include cats that are returned to the city or placed in the city under the TNR program? Under 9199 penalty, section B, any person who allows an animal which has been spayed or neutered to run at large or otherwise violate section 9105 of this chapter has committed a civil offense with the civil fine of $85 for the first offense and $100 for the second offense and subsequent.
Aren't those cats neutered and spayed?
All those
Yeah.
cats that are returned are neutered and spayed.
Yes.
Well, it says that, even if it's been, A is if it hasn't been neutered or spayed, B is if it has been spayed or neutered.
Yeah, so it sounds like, and this is what the Cam County Fiscal Court asked us to approve.
Mhm.
But it sounds like they're saying any animal, they're not distinguishing between a dog and a cat. It says an animal that's been spayed or neutered. So I would assume that it includes the cat as well.
Okay. All right.
I can try to get clarification on that, but it seems to me that's gonna be harder than dogs to enforce, but I guess you can capture the cats and do it as well. But yeah,
I've just had some comments, complaints actually about the TNR program. There are so many cats around, and everybody wants to feed them and everything else.
right.
But there's too many of them around, ruining gardens, killing birds, etc. I was wondering if the Animal Control Service, I think it's called now, they renamed it, if they would be liable in a case like this.
We mean liable.
Well, they're dumping off a cat. I mean,
And the cat has no home and there are cats everywhere.
That's a good question. I haven't really thought about that, but,
Urban Terrace is just like a
Cats.
video game of
Yeah.
cats.
Yeah, my alleyway's full of cats.
Mhm.
Seventh used to be like that until we tore down the building, the Sester building was the same way.
right.
That's a good question. I don't know the answer to that. So-
I think we need to take it up with the animal control. I mean, I realize the value of TNR, trap, neuter, and return. I realize the value of trap and neuter. The return part is the part I have an issue
Yeah,
with.
yeah,
I mean, if it was a dog running wild, they would put it up for adoption down at the kennel.
Right.
Instead, cats seem to be treated differently, and I think it is causing a problem in the urban areas.
yeah. They made it clear when we had our meeting with staff of the animal shelter, all the cities, that they were going to continue the policy of releasing them back after they were spayed or neutered and not keeping them. Only dogs would be kept if they were at large.
Well, in a case like that, would we be fining the animal control officer for dropping off a cat?
Yeah, it is. Probably need to address it.
All right.
I'll talk to county about it and see what their position is on this.
All right, thank you.
I have a question if you guys know about that program. I thought that they fed them, like they fed the strays that are out in the street in the TNR problem. Is that true? Or no,
No,
they just release them
They
with
just
no
release
food
them.
and they're on
Release
their
them
own?
they basically release them where they found them.
Okay.
They don't feed them. We have a lot of people who are doing that
Yeah.
for them
Yeah.
instead. Yeah. But yeah, they don't feed, I mean, they may feed them while they're in the facility, but they don't
But
want
they
to
don't come back out.
Is the new animal control, like, is this supposed to be ramping up animal control? Because I know we used to have Terry, who was in charge of we had one person for the
She
entire
left.
county.
So she left, she went to Newport, so we were left without an animal control officer for the last couple of months. County stepped in. There was a coalition of cities, Fort Thomas kind of put together, they kind of managed the program, and they were all doing this program. Once she left, they had nobody to do it, and the county stepped up and said, we will start doing the service for you, charge them essentially the same amount of money. Actually, I think it's a little bit cheaper the first year. Yeah, the county's doing this for the first time in a while. I guess they probably did it back in the past. But since I've been here, it's always been this separate agency, Terry.
And it's actually probably, from what the article I read the other day, it's going to be a benefit because before it was only an animal control officer. And if she wasn't available on vacation or sick or anything, there was nobody to back her up.
Yeah.
Since County Animal Control Services is taking over, it can be a team effort then, and not just one person doing it, but the entire staff can be doing it.
Yeah.
We'll see how it works out.
Yep.
Any other comments regarding ordinance 2022, number 25? All right. We have a motion, we have a second. Roll call, please, Ms. Myers.
Member Bolter?
Aye.
Member Neary?
Aye.
Member Neiman?
Aye.
Member Baszler?
Aye.
Unanimous. Now on the first readings, first reading ordinance 2022, number 26. This is an ordinance amending section 150.82 of the Dayton Code of Ordinances to correct the definition of business license tax. Ms. Myers.
City of Dayton, Kentucky, ordinance number 2022, number 26. An ordinance amending section 150.82 of the Dayton Code of Ordinances to correct the definition of business license taxes.
This is just a cleanup ordinance in the previous ordinance we approved. Business license taxes was not properly defined, so now it is. That's the only thing we're doing here.
What is the definition?
The definition is business license taxes are required by 110.02, 110.03 of the city code ordinances. So basically, it's just referring you to our city code ordinances when we talk about business licenses in the ordinance itself.
Gotcha.
Just a first reading as well. Second first reading, ordinance 2022, number 27, an ordinance creating a new subchapter of 96 of the Dayton Code of Ordinances titled Public Right-of-Way of Ordinance. Ms. Myers, please.
City of Dayton, Kentucky, ordinance number 2022, number 27. An ordinance creating a new subchapter of chapter 96 of the Dayton Code of Ordinances titled the Public Right-of-Way Ordinance to regulate use of public right-of-ways in the city of Dayton, Kentucky.
So this is a pretty comprehensive ordinance. As you can see, it's like 25 pages long. What I did was for you all, I put an outline together, which I put on your desk. I sent it by email late today. Kind of goes through and hits most of the salient points about the ordinance. Ironically, a young commissioner by the name of Alex Edmondson was on the city council or city commission in Covington when the very first one of these ordinances was passed. He was upset that they were coming in and tearing up our alleys, our bricks, and putting in asphalt. And he said, we need to do something about that. So we passed the first one probably 20 years ago, Alex? I don't know. Yeah. And so this one incorporates similar language, but it also has a lot more comprehensive language in there about permits and insurance and indemnification against the city and all that. It's been adopted, similar ordinance has been adopted by the city of Ellesmere, the city of Covington, the city of Crestview Hills. I've talked with Bellevue. Once we get ours adopted, I've shared our vision with them. They're going to adopt a similar thing. And so basically it's putting forth all the rules and regulations when utilities or their contractors come onto our street sidewalks and do work, what they have to do in order to do that work. They got to get a permit to cut. One of the things in here, if you look in here, is that, they gave us all their plans where they plan to be doing work, and they don't give us those plans. We request them. We pave a street. They're not allowed to touch that street for a year unless it's an emergency. So a lot of things that we deal with all the time, we're trying to address in this ordinance. And, the fees aren't that expensive. It's $100 for a permit, but, there's going to be some time for us to manage this, inspect it and do those things. So we should be reimbursed for that time. So that's what this is all about. You've got a whole month to look over it. If you have any questions, let me know.
Well, the onus would be on, really, it's only Water District and SD1 is the primary as far
We
as.
got Duke.
Well, Duke and Alta Fiber are also included in that, but for street cuts, it'd be primarily SD1 and the Water District. You have parties, you mentioned parties on here.
Yeah.
And often when they're doing a cut, it's just a contractor.
Right, that's the party. So there's the registrants, which are the actual utilities, are the ones who have the rights, the easements, and then there's the parties. Sometimes that could be their own employees, or they may contract out. That's
So it would be the contractor and
the
the
registrants.
utility.
That's
Okay,
correct.
good. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fawcett.
Mhm.
Moving along, all the readings are done. Now we're going to first orders of resolutions. First one being 2022 number 36 Romeo, an order resolution appointing Brian Brolport and Catlin Geiger to the Dayton Board of Adjustments. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Member Neary's making the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
So I just would like to point out that Brian is here today. Brian, thank you. I appreciate you offering your services to the city. Brian has some background in construction management, so that's good for this board. In addition, today I got an email from the other person, Caitlin Geiger, I think is her name. She indicated she was interested. She's got a background in commercial real estate. So two individuals with good backgrounds would be perfect for this board. As you know, we've had some problems meeting in quorum with this board because we only have 3 of the 5. And if one misses, we don't have a quorum. So this should help solve those issues going forward in the future.
Any other comments regarding this order? No, it's not the fun ones.
I'd like to comment. Thank you for stepping up and volunteering. We're having a hard time filling the boards.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. You guys are doing a really good job in the city, and lived here 6 years now, but about time to get involved.
Great.
Awesome. Love it,
Thank
man.
you.
All right. Roll call, please, Ms. Myers.
Member Neary?
Aye.
Member Basler?
Aye.
Member Neiman?
Aye.
Member Volter?
Aye.
Ayes have it.
We have a meeting coming up in 2 weeks from this Wednesday, so we should have a quorum, hopefully. So that's good.
Certainly appreciate your volunteer, sir. Next on the agenda is Order Resolution 2022, number 37 Romeo. It's order resolution authorizing the disposition of certain city-owned real estate property via quitclaim deed to MBS Marina LLC, a Kentucky liability company, for the purpose of furthering economic development. Do I have a motion to accept 2022 number 37 Romeo?
Move to accept 2022-37 Romeo.
I have a second.
I'll second.
All right, that opens up comments. What kind of comments do we have for this resolution?
How about an explanation of,
So, the Manhattan Boulevard extension has just been completed, or at least substantially completed. And as part of that, the developer, Mark Stark, put in a series of retaining walls to hold up the road. This is that area. So I talked with Donnie Warner, our public finance and real estate lawyer about it, and he said, it's just a small bit of land. It's right next to where the marina is what is acquiring it. And he said, really, we should allow them to do it because it's a liability. They need to maintain that, not us. So it's better for them to do it. Plus, we are getting an easement over this land for our 10-foot bike trail. So when the trail comes up off the river, they are giving us an easement to allow us to have a bike and hiking trail over 10 feet of that next to the street. So that's what this is about. It's a small strip of land that's left over after we closed out Dodd Drive.
Yeah, it was previously Dodd Drive when it was still lower.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So half that drop drive went to them already and half went to us. The half that went to us is now reneeded to them as part of this resolution.
So did they request this?
What's that?
Did they request
Yes,
the
they
ownership?
requested it.
Do we know why they would want to take on the liability of it?
Well, it's their responsibility. He wants to park there. Some of it's going to be for parking for the arena as well, but the reason they did the walls is to create more parking. So the walls and the parking are part of this. So that's why. And they should be responsible anyway. They built it. They should be responsible for it.
Are there any other questions regarding this order? Thank you, Mr. Fawcett. Thanks for the questions. Roll call, please.
Member Neiman?
Aye.
Member Baszler?
Aye.
Member Rolter?
Aye.
Member Neary?
Aye.
Two more to go. An order resolution. This is order resolution 2022 number 38 Romeo. An order resolution authorizing the execution and delivery of a First Amendment to agreement of lease with River Commons at Manhattan Harbor LC. Do you want to describe that, or you want to go to comments?
So this is Brendan Sullivan project, and they have done some IRBs for this, but they had to have an amendment to it. Donnie Warner's looked over it, and he has approved these changes, and his fees will be paid by them out of the bond proceeds. So this is, let's see. Yes, First Amendment to the amendment of the lease. So there was previously a lease we adopted, and this is the First Amendment to it. It's just basically changes to allow them to get financing.
Do I have a motion to accept 2022 number 38 Romeo?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any comments? No comments? All right, roll call, please.
Member Kelly? Sorry, wrong one. Member Baszler?
Nay.
Member Volter?
Aye.
Member Neary?
Aye.
Member Neiman?
Aye.
Ayes have it. And last on the orders is this is order resolution 2022 number 39 Romeo. This is an order resolution appointing Brian David Meyer as a part-time licensed inspector in the Code Enforcement Department. Jay, you want to discuss?
So as you all
Mr.
know,
Meyer?
we passed the rental inspection license ordinance earlier this year. Part of that was we needed to have a licensed inspector that will be doing a lot of that work. We budgeted for a part-time licensed inspector in this year's fiscal year budget for $40,000. This is a part-time job. Will be 20 hours a week. Mr. Meyer has experience in construction. He also has run a business, and he also has some IT experience, which is great because we're going to be using some technology in this in doing this. So all three of those are good qualities that we have, and Cassie will work with him on the inspection process, and we're in the process of building that program now. We'd like to get him on board now for the next couple of months, and then hit the ground running on January 1 when the program goes into effect.
He's a resident of Melbourne, Kentucky, and he wanted to be here tonight, but he couldn't secure childcare because his wife's working tonight.
Reporting line, will this role report to Cassie?
That's correct.
Okay.
He'll be a member of the Code Enforcement Department under her direction.
All right, thank you.
Welcome. Do we have a motion to accept order resolution 2022 number 39 Romeo? Do
Move to accept number 2022-39 Romeo.
we have a second?
Second.
All right, that opens up the comments. Any other comments? Kind of skip that. Sorry, we're not too strict around here. Any comments regarding this resolution? All right, roll call, please, Ms. Myers.
Member Volter,
Aye.
Member Neary,
Aye.
Member Neiman,
Aye.
Member Baszler.
Ayes have it. All right, all the business is out now, so move right us along. The city administrator report, Mr. Fawcett, please.
All right, so a few things. A lot of construction is going on, I think you mentioned. 6th Avenue at Walnut, we had a C1 issue. They dug into the street there, intersection of down Mark Boyd, that was caused by, I guess, sewers that deteriorated over the years and it's washed out. So once they got into it, they thought they would be able to do the work. Actually, ended up this week, but they found out it was much bigger than they expected. So probably going to continue into next week. So that little section of Walnut between 6th and 5th will maybe close for probably. So that is underway. It's done a lot of work. Got put a lot of flow fill rate. I don't know, flow fill on the fill that void. So I'm gonna fix that. So that's good. All the street funding, street paved, all street paving, repaving has been finished for the year. Everything was striped except for the stripe by the school, right? Still gonna do that. Parking, yeah. Most of it was the heated materials, and I know you have a problem getting that paint, but I don't know when they're gonna do that, but that's the other thing that needs to be redone, is the striping there. KYTC has repaved Barry Ingles Highway from the flood wall all the way to Fort Thomas and Tower Hill Road there. So that looks really great. I'm sure you'll see a lot more bikes on that road now that it's nice and smooth.
Not to interrupt you, Mr. Fawcett, but on that, I was out there the other day again, and it looks great compared to what it was.
Right.
But are we still going to have a drainage problem? Because I know a couple of years ago when they put that new water line in on the south side of Mary Ingles, they didn't excavate it right for drainage, and that was causing, especially out by Riverside Marina, that was causing that to buckle.
I know.
Whose responsibility is that?
It's state, it's still a state road. The problem is they've not maintained those culverts and those drains for many years. And
Right.
that's causing the problem. If those had been maintained, we wouldn't have some of the issues we have right now. They have done nothing to clean those out. So I can make a request to them, ask them to do it.
Yeah.
See if they do it. But, it's not a state route anymore, so I'm sure it's low on their priority list, but I would be happy to reach out to District 6 and see if they'll come and clean up those culverts.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Atleta is finishing up their work, the stormwater work we're doing in conjunction with SD1 at 4th and Kenton. That should be done by the end of this week. Once that's done, Eaton Asphalt's ready to pave that section of Route 8 between the flood wall up to like Hasman. So that should be done relatively soon. So I think that's ready to go. The new road has been installed near the marina. They have now buried the gas lines that runs to the new Tapestry 2 that's being built. And they are now in the process of electric going in this week, Rick, doing that.
They're starting on some of them.
They were supposed to do it a couple of weeks ago, but they all were sent down to Florida because of the hurricane. But they are finally going to be putting that underground too. And as soon as that's done, they'll make a connection to the new apartment complex, which is now under construction. What else do we have? Of course, everybody may know this, but we had a film crew shooting in the city last week up on Fairview, and Dr. John Wyrick's house, I think, was featured in the filming. And so that movie, I think, is called Bang Bang, and I don't know when it's supposed to be out, but it's got a couple of big stars in it. So keep your eyes open for that when it premieres. And what's that?
That's the last time we had a movie filming day within Airborne.
Probably, yeah.
That was just only half day and half that W, right? Did you work that day?
So the street pump outs, or again, we're waiting on Duke to finally get us the poles. The lead is done, so they're ready to go at any time. As So I don't know if they'll be able to do some preliminary work before the polls are online, but they tell us we're supposed to have polls in November. It's November now, so November 1. So we'll see what happens with that. Duke's been promising polls for 2 months now, so
Can we do the concrete and put the poles in later?
you can't really, you can do it, but you got to cut the concrete again and put them in. So worst comes to worst, we could do it, but it's not going to look right and it's not going to be as attractive.
Oh, so we're also waiting on the bases.
Yeah, the
Okay.
whole thing. Yeah, they have to be, the KYTC has certain poles you have to have. They have to be breakaway poles, you know. So there's all kinds of complicating factors, but I'm hopeful that Duke will have those here in the next couple of weeks and we'll be able to finish that project this year. We also got good news on a couple of grants we're applying for. We're applying for the Riverfront Commons upper level to replace the existing floodwall path. It's up there. It's been there for probably 15, 20 years. I don't know how long. It's in horrible condition. And we also want to be able to get off that path down to the lower trail. We've got OKI ranked us, I think, number 3 on that one. And we also have asked for additional funding, which we needed to get the construction done on phase 2 of the Rivers Edge path. It came over $1 million over what we expected because of increases. So they ranked that as number 2. So we are now goes to KYCC. They do their own ranking, and hopefully we'll get funding for both those projects. So that's where we are on that. So that's all I have.
Jay?
Yeah.
Berry Street corridor, is that going to be in the spring?
Well, the 45 days started on October 11th. We actually met with Duke about the utility poles. Staff met here with 2 Duke representatives. We had Mike Yeager, me, and Jared. And they're looking at possibly getting the line that's now running across here. It's only servicing the pump station. They think they can service the pump station from another lines and take this down. So they were going to keep lines there, put really big poles there. I think it'll be much nicer to get those lines gone, and we have an unobstructed view of the river. So I haven't talked to Mark Stark yet about when he plans to start, but technically he's supposed to start within 45 days. And we kind of want to meet with Duke first before we met with him. And I've got to see him sometime here soon about our tip payments. So I think that's a conversation we'll have at that time.
Thank you.
Your questions for City Administrator Fawcett? Thank you very much for your report, Jay. Now it's time to open up the audience. Feel free to address council or administration or anything that's on your mind. If you'd like to address us, putting it yours. Yes, ma'am. Name and address, please.
Is this on?
Just hold it or press and hold. There you go.
There you go.
Hi, I'm Abby. I live on 3rd Avenue. My husband, Brian. I don't know if this is the right crowd for this, but I was thinking sometimes it's hard to see people to like yield to them in the crosswalks, especially at the avenue, if there's not like a stoplight or a stop sign. And some cities have like those little flags, like orange flags with like reflective stripes that you can like carry while you cross the street. I just thought it might be nice for like the kids walking to and from school or like at nighttime, be easier to see people so you could stop for them.
No, neither. What is it?
Yeah, it's like a PVC pipe holder and then it's literally just like orange fabric on like a little wooden stick. It's not fancy. And then you just like, yeah, and so there's a holder on each side of the street and you just take a flag with your group as you cross and then like leave it on the other side. Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Anybody else have to address council? We're going to close that out. Do we have any unfinished business we'd like to address?
I'd like to talk about these microphones and how great they're doing tonight.
I'd like to thank Jared Barks for doing that. He studied it. He drove to 2 different guitar centers today. So we appreciate, and the city appreciates people, that they can hear what we're saying.
So what we've done is we put together some wired mics, and then there are a couple that are the old ones that worked. So question is, do we want to expend money to get additional wired mics to cover everybody? So Jared did a great job kind of figuring this all together tonight, but I don't know that it's a permanent solution.
And the cracks.
Yeah, so anyway, we need to look at the cost because we got the cost estimate pretty up there. So that's something we have to decide, the council needs to decide to do.
I think the estimate was 14 grand.
14 grand to do it upright. And that was adding an additional camera here as well.
Is this the amplifier that we had before?
Yes.
Okay, so we were able to find that.
But the problem is, Jared, why don't you go up and speak a little bit so they can hear you? Well, it only has like 6 or 7 plugs.
You pushing this the whole
No,
time?
that one's fine. You can leave those on. You can leave those on all the time. Explain that to them too.
What is it exactly?
So explain how many spots you have in the amplifier, why you can't. And then also, they don't need to really hit the button anymore, right? They can just.
Right. So all the wired dedicated ones, so all the city council and the mayor have those. They're live all the time. You don't have to turn them on and off.
The red ones?
No.
Oh, these?
No. Yeah, 80 council members and the mayor.
Okay.
You can just leave them on all the time.
And the green light means they're on?
Correct.
Okay, I have.
You can technically turn them on, but there's really no reason.
Okay.
Unless you wanted to speak to somebody privately, you might turn them off. Otherwise, you just leave them on.
Okay.
Amplifier and the limitations it has.
Okay, so I learned a lot about microphones today. So our system, the council member microphones are called phantom microphones, meaning they have to have power delivered to them from the amplifier, if that makes sense. So your microphones won't work unless they're receiving power. So 4 of the 7 were getting power because the amp provides the power to them. 3 of them weren't, so that's what I had to go to Guitar Center and buy the power supply for the remaining 3 of them. So, I mean, they seem to be working fine. I just had to reorient the room a little bit in order to get them functioning. But I haven't seen really any problems. We're having a little feedback, it seems like, with Jay's mic tonight, but otherwise, it seems to be working pretty well.
So if it turns out they're audible on the video, is this good enough?
In my opinion, yes.
I like it better than the 14,000.
14,000
Yeah,
is
really.
a lot of money.
Right. And the 14,000 was not budgeted either, so we'd have to amend the budget in order to do that.
I think this is a stopgap measure, and maybe next budget season we did look at whether we want to expand the system.
Appreciate it, Jared.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, my concern, it does sound a lot better. And as Scott said, we're not having to wait for the thing. What about for board meetings, et cetera? I mean, can we, like, are you going to have to come to every board meeting?
I would recommend using the wireless mics if we just have a couple out, they don't have the interference. And there's no board large enough really that we're going to have that interference playing
Right.
into it. The council meetings are the challenge because there's so many of you talking at the same time.
And we're streaming council meetings, and not all the board meetings are streamed.
Well, moving forward with this whole thing, that's great if we can just go with what we already had. Looking at some of the other cities, and we had talked earlier about the cable board. I know Bellevue uses the cable board to record their meetings, and they also do promos for their businesses, et cetera. Would we be better off exploring that option?
They want to charge us to do that. which is-
$38,000, I believe.
Yes. And so the cable fees now goes to the city. We don't use that for what Bellevue does. They use that money that comes in from the cable fees to pay for it.
Right.
We don't use that money for that. We get those fees, but we don't use it for.
Oh, okay. I thought I misunderstood earlier. I thought it was part of the consumer was going directly to that. We just weren't utilizing it, but actually that goes to the city.
Yes.
We utilize that for other things.
Yes.
All right.
I don't know when they stopped being a part of the cable board, Dayton. It's been a while. Definitely before my administration.
Probably 15 years.
It probably, and now as we see more people cutting the cord, doesn't make as much sense for us to pay $38,000 a year for a smaller amount of people to use it. We're live streaming on YouTube, right? Or YouTube right now, so probably getting better reach with that than we would with the cable. All right, so we're still on unfinished business section. What else you want to talk about? All right, we're going to go ahead and close it. Closed. New business. What you want to talk about? Anybody have any new business they'd like to bring up with administration? Nope. All right. Closed. Do we have a reason for executive session this evening? No executive session. This is under an hour. Well done, council.
That's because Jessica's not here.
Well, with that being said, does anybody like to make a motion for adjournment?
So move.
Walters made the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Neiman.
Neiman?
One of these days I'll get it right.
Oh, goody.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any noes? Thank you very much. Have a happy Thanksgiving.